नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। सर्व शास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्व वैदिक सत्फल सर्व सिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्व लौकिक दृक्प्रद सर्व भागवत प्राणा श्रीमद् भागवतो प्रभु कलिदंतोदितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मद एक बंधु मद संगीन मद गुरु मद महादन मद निस्तारक मद भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधुता दायिन अति नीचो च ताकरा हा ना मुंचा कदाचिन मां प्रेम हृत कंथयो स्फुरः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनं हृदयन्तस्तु अभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Thank you all so much for joining. Nice to see all of you. I think every week we miss and we feel like, oh, it's been such a long time. Now we are back. So last week we had Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. It was like a different mood, but in person. So we will start with Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's see, are there any quick, let's see, reflections from past week studying Bhagavatam or any quick points anyone would like to share just with the experience of Bhagavatam before we start? Yeah. I know it's been like with our festivals and everything, like kind of the flow has been a little bit on and off. So now again, like, you know, we want to keep the flow every week. You know, Radhastami also, you know, yesterday there was a festival. So now let's try to keep the flow and again get back into the mood of regular study, reading, so that we have our flow, right? So we'll try to keep now regular classes. From Janmashtami onwards, it's been like quite busy for everyone. So now let's try to do every week class. Anyone has wants to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I was thinking as His Grace Amarin Prabhu was saying that Krishna slowly starts stealing. So I like it when instead of wasting time on other things, if I think that, oh, I have to say, oh, I have to memorize my verses, oh, I have to do my homework. So I like it. I'm not wasting my time, and Krishna is stealing my more and more time. So I like it.
Thank you, Madhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes,
I also share something like what Amarendra Prabhu's class. It is such an inspiring, for today morning. The inspiration was that sentence that I heard, that how Sukadeva Goswami had that pomegranate given by Srimati Radharani, and that just a sentence came into my mind, and I was up the bed. My body is paining, but I cannot miss that pomegranate juice.
yes, yes.
So
It's a
amazing.
nectar emanating
Thank you
from
for
the
bringing
rose.
him, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for bringing him to the community. It's a big asset.
Yeah, I have 2 points of studying Bhagavatam and associating with the Bhagavat person. You see that in action now. We're very fortunate, yes. Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay. So last time, we stopped at one particular section of chapter 10, and we didn't complete that chapter. And then later on, I was thinking that prayers that the wives of the queens of Hastinapur offer to Krishna. So we had 2 chapters of focus, right? One is Krishna is leaving for Dwarka, and the second chapter is Krishna's entrance into Dwarka, right? So we read quite a bit of the chapter 10 where we read Krishna's leaving for Dwarka, right? And then there's these prayers by these wives of Hastinapur, right? They go on the rooftops and they're offering prayers. We read to a particular point, but then afterwards I was thinking that, maybe I didn't do good justice to this prayer, because that mood wasn't like, we didn't come to that section where the desire of these queens have been expressed. So we'll start a little bit from those prayers, and then we'll continue in chapter 11, and then let's see how far we'll go, because today also there's class by Amarendra Prabhu. So at least like I'm hoping to cover till text number 23, 24 of chapter 11. Right? So let's see how it goes. Okay, but I want to start off with chapter 10, and we'll just okay. So revisiting chapter 10. So what happens in chapter 10 of the Bhagavatam? We started off by Sonak Rishi asking the question that, okay, now Yudhishthira Maharaj has been established as the emperor. How did he rule? And then the first section of that chapter was basically describing how Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he actually ruled, everything was so perfect, right? We read that how there was a sufficient rainfall, how the cows were giving so much milk that they were actually wetting the earth, wetting the earth, so much abundance of milk, resources, everything. And then the subjects in Yudhishthira Maharaj's kingdom, all the praja had no agonies, no disease, no excessive heat, no excessive cold. Everything was so wonderful in Maharaj Yudhishthira's kingdom, right? So we read that section. And then after that, we read that how Lord Krishna, though he wanted to go for like, since chapter 7, we are hearing that Krishna wants to go, wants to go, wants to go. And then we read that he still stayed for a few more months. Why? To pacify all the Pandavas, and particularly to pacify Subhadra, right? His own sister, because she had lost her son Abhimanyu on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Right? So, and then after that, Krishna actually, he approaches Maharaj Yudhishthira and says like, okay, please give me permission to leave. And Maharaj Yudhishthira actually gives him permission to leave. And then after that exchange, then Krishna offers obeisances to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and then his reciprocation with the younger Pandavas, where they offer their obeisances. And then the next section of this chapter is actually describing the separation of the Pandavas and all the residents of Hastinapur to Krishna, right? And we read this section where it was described that how can the Pandavas, they tolerate even a moments of separation from Lord Shri Krishna, right? And because they were thinking that, oh, now Krishna is going, they were nearly fainting in that mood of separation, right? So we read that, and there's one beautiful verse where we read. Let's see if I can pull up that verse. Chapter 11. So that is text number. Right. So basically, the next section was basically describing how all the Pandavas, and it actually describes how Subhadra, Draupadi, Kunti, Uttara, Gandhari, all these personalities, it was impossible for them to bear the separation from Lord Shri Krishna. And then it is described that how even once someone hears the glories of Lord Shri Krishna, he cannot stop hearing the glories. And we talked about this point that all we need to do is just once experience Krishna, whether that's in the form of his holy name, in the form of like some kind of seva, in the form of appreciating the beauty of Krishna. Like Amarendra Prabhu has been going so much into the description of the beautiful form of Krishna, how Krishna plays the flute, all that. Even once we experience Krishna, then we cannot stop experiencing Krishna. We'll want to experience Krishna more and more and more, right? So the point is actually made in text 11 and 12 that even once if someone experiences, hears the glories of Krishna, right, he cannot stop hearing the glories. Then what to talk of the Pandavas? How can they tolerate their separation? For them who have been seeing Krishna face to face, they have been touching Krishna, they have been conversing with Krishna, they have been sleeping with Krishna, they have been dining with Krishna, they have been sitting with Krishna. They had so much personal association with Krishna. How can they tolerate their separation from Krishna? So that was described in text 11 and 12. And then further it is described that how all their hearts were melting for him on the pot of attraction, right? And further, the female relatives, like Krishna is leaving and they want to, like, tears are coming from their eyes, like just overflowing from their eyes, but they want to stop it, they want to stop. Why? Because they're thinking that, oh, Krishna is just starting his journey. Maybe that will be inauspicious for Krishna's journey, right? So it is like their eyes are overflowing with tears, but they are trying to stop the tears so that it won't be inauspicious for Krishna. And then it is described that how different musical instruments were playing, and then how the royal ladies of Kurus, they actually went on top of the roofs and they were showering flowers. How Arjun, he actually took up an umbrella with handle of jewels, and then he was walking with Krishna. Uddhav and Satyaki, they had these fans, and they were actually fanning Krishna. And then there's a beautiful verse that we read in text 19, that there were different benedictions said by the Brahmanas. And some of them they're said to be fitting and also befitting and also not fitting, right? So the benediction of fitting in the sense that they were thinking Krishna has taken the position or, playing the role of a human being. And hence these benedictions are fitting, are actually appropriate. But on the other hand, they are unfitting because Krishna is the source of all benedictions. He is the source of all good qualities. So who can actually give benedictions to Krishna? So both. So it is these qualities are befitting and unbefitting, right? Because they are befitting if we consider Krishna playing the role as a human being, and unbefitting if we consider Krishna as nirguna. So two words are there, nirguna and gunatmaka, right? So if you consider Krishna as gunatmaka, then the benedictions are pleasing, arupa, are pleasing. And then if you consider Krishna as nirgunasya, then the benedictions are nirgunasya, then the benedictions are unbefitting, right? Unbefitting. So anurupaha and anurupa and anurupaha, right? So anurupa means befitting and anurupa means fitting. Right? So na anurupaha and anurupaha. Right? So that we read, and then absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, the ladies, they went on the roofs of houses of Hastinapur and they began to talk. And this talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas, right? And we read that, we discussed this point in purport that, how our acharyas, they sing these beautiful bhajans, and they may be composed in like simple words, simple to follow words, Bengali words, but we consider them as authoritative. We consider them as more important than all the Vedic hymns, and they're actually more pleasing to Krishna than the recitation of all the Vedas, right? Why? Because they are actually the genuine, heartfelt emotions or overflow of the heart of these pure devotees, right? So, so here these ladies, they are actually expressing their heartfelt emotions for the Lord, and they have gone to the roof and they're actually conversing, and this is actually more attractive than the hymns of the Veda. Okay, so now we'll quickly go through text 21 onwards, and those are the prayers of this. And it's good we are covering this because we'll contrast these prayers with the prayers offered by the residents of Dwarka when Krishna actually enters Dwarka. Okay, and we can see the difference in the two moods. It's very beautiful. So let's start with text number 21. Okay, so we'll go quickly through few verses. I think 3-4 verses we discussed. Then we stopped at that point. So let's start with text 21.
Text 21. Savai kilayam purusha puratano ya eka asid avishesha atmani agre gunebhyo jagad atmanishvare atman nishi supta shaktishu.
Translation, the names are on the chat box.
So it's 21, right, Prabhu?
Yeah, 20.
Translation. They said, here he is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creations of the modes of nature. And in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended.
Right. So these ladies, they are actually looking at Krishna, and they're Chakravarti is saying they're pointing their finger and saying, here, this is that person. We are seeing this person, but who is he? He is actually the Purusha, the original Purusha, Purusha Puratanaha. He is actually the original Supreme Personality of God. Imagine like you have a person, like he's amongst you, he's doing different pastimes, and then now he's leaving and they're saying, oh, here, this person, he's actually the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he alone existed before this entire creation. And yeah, and we discussed that this is similar to that verse where in Bhagavatam, the first verse of the Chatushloki Bhagavatam 2.9.33, where it says, Aham evasam evagre nanyag yet sad asat param paschad aham yad etatsa yo vasishte so mya aham. Right? So basically there, Krishna is actually telling Brahma that I actually who existed before this creation. So before this creation, there was nothing but Krishna. This personality existed, and so Krishna is directly revealing that to Brahmaji, and here the queens are actually making the same point, that it is you who existed before this creation. So you are above the three modes, you are the creator of the three modes, you are actually transcendental, you are actually beyond this material nature. Okay, now next verse, text 2.
Sa eva bhuyo nijavirya choditam svajiva mayam prakritim sisrikshatim anama rupatmani rupanamani viditsit samano nusasara shastrakrit.
The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature, by his own potency, material and power to recreate.
So we always mention this. Whenever we talk of Krishna, who do we talk of? Well, after yesterday's festival, we'll say Srimati Radharani. But in this, when we talk of Bhagavatam, we are talking of, whenever we talk of Krishna, we talk of Krishna's energies. And certainly, Srimati Radharani is the pleasure potency of Krishna. So here also we see, having said that Krishna, you existed before the creation, now they are saying what? Nija Virya, your own potency. It is by your own energies. right? So how Jiva Goswami actually explained that when you say the, we give this example like so many times, when the king, you say, oh, the king is going, you never expect to see the king alone. He'll always be there with his bodyguards, with his different, entourage. There'll be like a whole entourage, and you may not even see the king. You may see the associates, right? So similarly, you can see the energies of the Krishna are actually more maybe perceivable, at least at the initial stage, than Krishna himself. So here they are saying, Nija Virya, your own potency, by your own potency. So before creation, it was Krishna alone who existed. But by his own potency, these living entities who are actually in the body of Krishna, right? So actually in the previous purport, it explains that at the time of the end of Brahma's day and at the time of end of Brahma's lifetime, these living entities, they enter into the body of either Garbhadakshay Vishnu or Karandakshay Vishnu, right? Depending on if it is complete annihilation, 100 years of Brahma, then they enter Karandakshay Vishnu. Otherwise, they enter into Garbhadakshay Vishnu. They enter, and then this Lord who actually desires to give them different names and forms so that the living entities can realize their mistake and come back to him. So he actually, through his energies, he puts them under the care of the Maya Shakti, right? His own potency. Maya Dakshena Prakriti. So that Prakriti, he puts them. Okay? And then by his own potency, this Maya, material nature, is empowered to be free. So, yeah, that is one very nice Prabhupada says that this entire purpose, why is Krishna actually giving different names and forms to the living entities? Just to give all the living entities to rectify their rebellious attitude. And I was thinking this is a nice phrase to learn, RRA. Why does Krishna do this entire thing? Rectification of our rebellious attitude. That is why Krishna is doing this entire creation, right? So that's why Krishna is actually desiring to give names and forms to all us living entities, to give us a chance to actually go back home, back to God. And Prabhupada makes a point in purport, but as we are so stubborn jivas, we just say that this material world is very nice. In spite of being kicked by Maya at every step, we say it is very nice, and we try to think under illusion that everything is actually very perfect. And then we make so many plans. Make a plan to enjoy and enjoy this way, enjoy that way, and so many different plans. But then Prabhupada says, but by the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and the plans are annihilated after a particular. Both the plan maker is annihilated and all his plans are also annihilated. So that's Prabhupada making the point, right? So now they have said that Krishna, it is you you existed before this creation. And it is through your potencies, the jivas are actually given the entire material nature is actually working, and the jivas have given these different names and forms so that they can actually be rectified and come back to you. Okay. Now let's go to next verse. And oh yeah, one more word, very important, is Shastrakrit. So if you see the last word in this word, Shastrakrit. What does that mean? How does that RRA happen? Rectification of rebellious attitude. Krishna actually, he gives Shastra. When he actually puts the living entities back, he gives names and forms to a living entity. Along with that, he gives them the Shastra. And by these Shastras, their rebellious attitude can actually be rectified. So Prabhupada in the purport talks about Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. These two, Bhagavad Gita is the guiding principle for every human being, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, these are, Krishna has given these two just for our RRA, right? So that is Shastra. Okay, now next verse.
That's 23. Sava ayam mat padam atra surayo jitendriya nirjita matarishvanaha pashyanti bhaktyut kalita malatmana nanvesha sattvam parimarshtum arhati.
So now if the Lord is Adhokshaja. He is beyond this entire creation. He is Avyayam. He is actually, how can we understand a person who is the source of all creation? How can we understand him? Who can actually experience this Krishna that is described in this word? The translation.
Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by the great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotional service and full control of life and the senses. And that is the only way to purify existence.
So first the word used is Jita Indriya, right? Those who have overcome the influence of the senses. And what does Goswami mean? Goswami means one who has actually mastered his senses. Right? Go means senses. Swami means one who has mastered his senses. So those who are Goswamis, like those who are Jita Indriya, those who have conquered, right? Jita means to conquer, right? We say Ajita is Krishna, who can never be conquered. Jita means was conquered, right? So who has conquered his Indriya, that's first thing. Second thing is Nirjita Mata Dishwaraha, where he says his life heirs are completely controlled. Life heirs are completely controlled. And Prabhupada makes the point, if your life heirs are controlled, then naturally your senses are also controlled. Okay, I'll explain this in a minute, why these 2 points have been referred. But first, Jita Indriya, overcome influence of senses, and second is Nirjita Matarishwara, is thoroughly controlled his life heirs. And these personalities, only when they Pashyanti Bhaktya, right? Only when only like if someone has controlled his life and senses, that is not sufficient. And that's actually referring to a point Prabhupada explains that point in the purport, that even if someone practices Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, right? So in by these different kinds of yoga, maybe one can able to with difficulty conquer his senses, but that is not sufficient. Still he cannot experience Krishna. One has to come to the point of devotional service. So Pashyanti, to see, Bhaktya, through devotional service. So even achieve these 2 conditions, unless these jnanis and yogis come to the point of devotional service, they cannot experience Krishna. Right? So these are the 2 points. So controlling the life heirs could particularly be referring to the dhyana yogis, because they focus on controlling their life heirs through the Ashtanga yoga process. And Jita Indriya could refer to those who are jnanis, because the jnanis, their process is that of naiti, right? They process that of detachment from this material world. So they try to control the senses. So even those jnanis and yogis can only experience Krishna when they come to the point of bhakti, devotional, right? And then they further say, Utkalita Atmana, right? The purification can happen only through devotional service. So even these ladies of Hastinapur, they are making the point, bhakti is the highest, bhakti is the best. Gyan yogi is there, that's okay up to a particular stage, but only through devotional service. And actually this devotional service is the only thing that can give complete purification. Okay. And okay, so can you think of one verse from Prayers of Queen Kunti where she talks about who can know Krishna? At least that one phrase.
Janmaishwarya Suthashri.
Okay. And then he says, yeah, okay, go ahead.
You want me to say the whole verse, or just whoever is materially exhausted can pray Krishna with more feelings?
Right. And then she uses the word akinchana gochara. You are akinchana gochara, right? You can only be understood by those who are actually given up everything of this material world, given up their desire to enjoy this material world. Those who are actually Goswamis, that conquer, they can actually experience Krishna. Okay? Now, having made the point of who can know Krishna, okay, Jnanis, yogis, they cannot know. Only the bhaktas can know. And this process of bhakti, Nanva Esha, right? So it is Nanva Esha, referring to Nanva Esha. Certainly by this only Sattvam existence can actually be purified. What is that? Bhakti, devotional service. Right? Now, in the next verse, she actually said, how is this, what is this bhakti? What is the main aspect of bhakti? What is the point that throughout Bhagavatam comes to the point of what is the real aspect of bhakti? That is actually coming to hearing the glories of Krishna. So that is described in the next verse. Right? So in the purport, when you read the purport, you'll see that Prabhupada is talking of Vishwamitra Muni and how he tried to control his senses by yogic powers, but then he was attracted by Menaka, and then his senses were disturbed. But for a pure devotee, he can control his senses by Param Drishta Nivartate, by getting the higher taste. Right? So when we engage in activities of devotional service, we are getting a higher taste. We feel that, oh, this is so good. And all our lower tendencies will get pushed away. Okay, next verse, 24.
Text 24. Sava ayam sakyanugita satkato vedeshu guyeshu cha guyavadibihi ya eka isho jagaratma lilaya srijat yavatyati na tatra sajjate.
Translation, oh dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead, whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world and yet remains unaffected.
So we can divide this verse into two parts, first two lines and second two lines. Okay. So let's see the first two lines. Sava ayam sakhi. Sakhi. Sakhi means what? Friends. So all these ladies are calling each other, oh friend, and Prabhupada says, oh dear friends, right? And again they say here, so they are actually looking at Krishna. That again and again shows that their eyes are just like, hooked onto Krishna. They cannot be read before, right? Even a blink they feel is like, oh, too much separation, right? So their eyes are just hooked onto Krishna, and they are saying again and again here, oh Sakhi, this is a person, right? So what are they saying here? Anugita sat katho vedeshu guyoshu sa guyavadibihi. How is that Krishna actually described? He is actually described in the confidential guya. In Bhagavad Gita also we read the word guya, guyataram, and guyatamam, right? So these three, confidential, more confidential, and most confidential, right? And what is the most confidential instruction? Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaste, right? So guya, vedeshu guyeshu. So of all the Vedas, if you consider the most confidential section of the Vedas, right? And how, if it is so confidential, how can we know? How can we hear that section? Only those who are Guya Vadipihi, those who are actually the confidential devotees, can reveal these confidential sections of the Veda and Anugita Sakatho, right? And they can wonderfully describe these qualities of Krishna. So what does that bhakti which is described in the previous verse actually mean? To actually hear about Krishna in the which is actually Krishna who is described in the confidential section of the Vedas by those confidential devotees. Now, how even in Bhagavad Gita we actually read in the 4th chapter where Krishna actually says, Bhakto asime sakhachiti, right? He says, Krishna, Arjun, I'm revealing this knowledge unto you. Why? Because you are my devotee and my dear friend, right? So how do these devotees, how can they understand the confidential sections of the Vedas? Because they are so close to Krishna, they are so dear to Krishna, that Krishna reveals himself through these confidential sections. Just like, very basic example, we actually say that, if someone is coming to, okay, just take this, someone is coming to do some work at your house, fix your AC. Now to that person who's just walked in, you won't tell about like, oh, my family is this, or, this is my relationship with my children. Why would you actually say, who is he? Why would I reveal it to him? But then if someone is more closer, then you'll say, okay, these are my family members. But then if someone becomes your most dear friend, right? Then you will share all your secrets and say, oh, this happened. And, this is what's happening with my children. Or, even something with your spouse, you may share that, this is a relation. If in a relationship is so close with a friend, you may share some deep things, right? And then beyond that, beyond that, if that person is really close to you, you don't even need to say, and that person knows your heart. So our acharyas, they are so close to Krishna that even if Krishna, like, in that confidential sections of the Veda, Krishna is revealing certain things, they can go one step beyond and understand the heart of Krishna. That's why many times if you see in the 10th canto, in the commentaries, there's a pastime going on, and Chakravarti Pad and other acharyas, they actually say the dialogue that is happening between Krishna and the other gopis. And saying Krishna is saying this, and the gopis are saying this. It's just one shloka. And you have the whole dialogue is actually there in the Chakravarti Pad commentary. How do you know? Because you're so close to Krishna that they know the heart of Krishna, they know the heart of the devotees. So Krishna is revealed through these Guhya Vadibihi, who can actually take out, yesterday you were mentioning this point, who can actually access the jewels in these confidential sections of the Veda. So that is that point there. And then the second two lines are Ya Eka Isho Jagat Atma Lilaya. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world, Jagat Atma Lilaya, by his own energies, but yet not Tatra Sajjate, but still he is not affected by these changes. Right? It's not, Prabhupada gives an example. It's not that how we see sometime Bhagavad Gita 1.4, Prabhupada says, right? The Atlas holding the globe. He has to do all the work. No, it's not like that, But Krishna is just like, he just desires and that's it. Or Sa Ikshata, one glance and that's it. Everything is happening. And then he is where he's enjoying with his gopis. It's not that he has to do it. So he's not affected by this. And then also Prabhupada is pointing out that yes, there are the Upanishads. So Upanishads is taking one from the material towards the spiritual, right? So if you see if you consider this as a line where spirituality is above and material is below, Upanishads are right in the center. They are just taking one from the material towards the spiritual. And hence in the Upanishads, many places the form of the Lord is not revealed. They just refer to the energy, the Brahman, right? Because they are just taking one towards spiritual, right? And then beyond, above the Upanishads are the Puranas, where then the pastimes of the Lords are revealed. But then among the Puranas, the best of the Puranas is Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is revealed by Sukadev Goswami. So Devin Mata just pointed out that at the starting of the class, right? The same point Prabhupada is saying. The confidential parts of his activities are described by that most confidential devotee, Sukadev Goswami. And he's revealing it in these texts of the Srimad. Okay, now text 25.
Yada yadharmena tamodhiyo nrpa jivanti tatraisha hi satvata kira dhate bhagham satyamritam dayam yasho bhavaya rupani dadhad yuge yuge.
Who's next? Pratna Mata is not there. Shiradi Mata read. Varsha Mataji, or are you able to read?
I'm sorry, Prabhuji, which verse, Prabhuji? Sorry.
It's okay if you're busy, Mata. You can read. You can read. We are in text number 25.
Okay.
If you're busy, that's okay, Mata. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read, yeah.
Okay.
Whenever there are kings and administrators living like animals in the lowest modes of existence, the Lord in his transcendental form manifests his supreme power. The truth, positive, shows special mercy to the faithful, performs wonderful activities, and manifests various transcendental forms as is necessary in different periods and ages. Thank you.
Thank you, Mata. Thank you for reading. So, okay. So now the Lord's merciful nature is actually explained, right? So we have explained that the Lord is transcendental. So if you see from the starting what we have said, it is a Lord who actually exists beyond this creation. But that same Lord, through his energies, through his prakriti, is giving us different forms, names and forms, so that we can actually RRA, right? We can actually rectify our rebellious nature. And so he's giving us that. And then further, they actually make the point about how can this person who is actually transcendental and who's adokshaja be known? Well, only the devotees can actually know him. Only through bhakti can we experience that Lord. And it is the same Lord who is actually described in the confidential section of the Veda by his most confidential devotees. And that Lord who is transcendental, he actually comes to the earth. When does he come? Right? That is described in this verse. So this is like 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Who can say those verses? I think last time also we said. Exactly like 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. 4 point. Chapter 4.
Yada yada hi dharmasya
Yes. So
glani
Paritana.
bhavati
Yes. So Paritana sadhana vinashaya dushkara dharma samstapana.
duskritam.
So you see here also yadahi adharmena. Whenever there is adharma, yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati. Abhyutama dharmasya tadapana srijami. So these 2 verses, even in Paritana sadhana vinashaya dushkara dharma samstapana sambhavami yuge yuge. Again yuge yuge, the words are there. So those 2 verses are basically said. So that Lord who's transcendental, he appears in this material world. When does he appear? When the kings and administrators, they are actually in like animals in the lowest mode of existence. And then when he comes, he actually comes and he shows his supreme power and he shows his mercy to the faithful and he performs wonderful pastimes and he manifests various transcendental forms. Right? So various transcendental forms, we can actually say that how 1:328 also, right? So manifests various forms. So 3rd chapter we read the various forms that Krishna manifests: Varaha, Vamana, Narsimha, Kurma, and then Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Ramchandra, Parshuram, all these different forms. What are the wonderful activities that the Lord shows? Maybe someone can quickly unmute and say. So in the translation, it says that when the Lord actually appears to this material world, 3 things is described. He shows special mercy to the faithful. What is an example of that? Who is he showing special mercy to? When you say special mercy to the faithful.
Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj, yes. Who else?
Arjuna.
Arjuna, Pandavas. Okay. Keep going.
So many.
Huh? So many people.
Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj, all those devotees that we read, he actually shows his mercy. Right? And also he's actually showing his mercy to each one of us. Right? Each one of us. Because that's the point. I wanted to come to this point because Prabhupada in these purports, again and again, he's referring to the point, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yovati tatata tokta deham punarjanma naiti mameti sardana. Yes, Krishna is coming in different transcendental forms, but anyone who understands the divyam of the birth and activities of the Lord in truth, then he also will be blessed by Krishna. So Krishna is showing his mercy not only to those devotees that he comes and shows his pastimes with, but everyone else in the time to come. Each one of us, anyone who has a little Shraddha, is actually showing his mercy, right? Special mercy to the Shraddha, to those who are Shraddhavan. Then second one, perform wonderful activities. Like what? Please go ahead, quickly.
Lifting Govardhan.
Lifting Govardhan Hill, okay.
Building the bridge across the ocean.
Building the bridge across the ocean, okay. Think, so many past tense, please go ahead.
Showing the Virat Roop.
Showing Virat Rupa.
Kaliya Daman, Kaliya Nag Daman.
Yeah, okay, subduing Kaliya.
Coming out of a pillar as the Hanuman.
Coming out of the
Coming out of a pillar, yes, coming out of a pillar. Okay.
Killing Putna when he was days old.
Yeah, killing Putna when just he was a baby in the lap of his mother.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada is actually, I asked this because in the purport, Prabhupada mentions different things. So he does mention, Lord Ramchandra building the bridge across the Indian Ocean, Krishna killing Putana, Agasur, Shakatasura, subduing Kaliya, killing Kamsa, marrying 16,108 wives. Who can do that, right? Who can do that? 16,108 wives, and then lifting Govardhan Hill. So Prabhupada mentions all this, right? So he comes and he shows mercy to those who are faithful. Then second, he actually shows wonderful activities, and by those wonderful activities can attract our minds to him, right? By those When we read about Krishna showing Govardhan Lila, wow, for 7 days on his little finger, that of his left hand, he lifted Govardhan Hill. Like, imagine now Govardhan Hill takes like 21 kilometers to walk around. Imagine that time, how big it was. And Krishna just lifted little finger. How great this Krishna is, right? And that way, through these wonderful activities, he's actually attracting the hearts of the conditioned jiva. Okay, so that is these two verses. So that Krishna who is above is manifesting in this material world to do these three things. Okay, now next verse. 26.
Next one, 6. Aho alam shlagyatamam yadokulam. Aho alam punyatamam madhurtam. Yadesha pumsam rishabha shriyapatihi. Swajanmana chankramanena chanchati.
Oh, how supremely glorified is the dynasty of King Yadu, and how virtuous is the land of Mathura, where the supreme leader of all living beings, husband of the goddess of fortune, has taken his birth and entered in his childhood.
So now if you consider that the Lord, he is transcendental, like he is beyond this creation. Now for doing these three things, right, to actually show wonderful activities, to give mercy to the faithful, and third thing, wonderful activities, show mercy to the faithful, and
To attract the mind.
My computer is so slow. So to show wonderful activities, manifest various forms, and third one is to show mercy to the, like in the previous verse, it says, show mercy to the faithful, perform wonderful activities, and manifest transcendental forms, like Lord Narasimhadeva and so on. So for these three things, the Lord who is transcendental, he appears here, right, in this material plane. Now, the Lord is appearing by his own sweet will, right? He is not conditioned to appear like us. We know that, right? So, when the Lord appears, then the family that the Lord chooses and the place that the Lord chooses, how glorious are those? The Lord can choose any family, right? It's not like us that we are forced to appear in a particular family. He can choose any family. He can choose any place. Oh, I want to appear in this place. I want to appear in this place. Wherever he wants, he can. But the place that the Lord chooses to appear, that family he chooses, how glorious is that? And they actually say, Aho Alam. Aho is like an expression. Oh, how great is this? Right? Naturally you can think. The Lord can select like any millions of families which are there, but he selects this Yadu Kulam, right? He actually selects this Yadu dynasty. So how Slagya Tamam, how supremely glorified is the Yadu dynasty that the Lord selected this Yadu dynasty to actually appear in this material world. And then second, Aho Alam Punyatamam, where Punyatamam, supremely virtuous, right? What? Madhur Vanam. Vana, forest. What forest? Forest of Vrindavan, or Mathura. Right? So Lord selected Vrindavan to appear, or Gokul to appear, like Braj Mandal, what we can say. And then he selected the Yadu dynasty to appear. So how glorious are these, Oh Alam, Aho Alam, Aho Alam. How glorious is this dynasty and this land of Mathura, right? Vrindavan. Then further it says, Yad Esha Pumsam Rishabha Shriyapatihi. Shriyapatihi. Shriyapatihi means he is the husband of the goddess of fortune. But that who is actually the husband of goddess of fortune, what is he doing now? Chakramanena. Chakramanena means what? He's crawling on the dust of Vrajbhumi. The person who is the husband of the goddess of fortune. If you say husband of Lakshmi ji, you think of someone, opulent, like a king, all, like Narayan form, basically. But that husband of goddess of fortune, he's crawling in the dust of Brajbhumi. how glorious is this Vrindavan Dham? How glorious is this Punyatamam Madhur Vanam, these 12 forests of Vrindavan. So imagine these, ladies of Hastinapur, see their mood, how much they are appreciating the Lord. They have feeling that this Vrindavan is so special. The Lord is crawling there in Vrindavan. So how beautiful is that? Right? So, so Prabhupada in his purport is actually one point that Prabhupada explains, and then from Chakravarti Pa's commentary is actually saying that how these pastimes that the Lord shows are always in continuity. And what does that mean? That means that when the Lord is actually taken his birth, okay? So he's taking his birth, or he's just finished that pastime of taking his birth, before that is over, another place in the material world that pastime is taking place. So if you consider how many pastimes of the Lord is there, unlimited. Every day there are so many pastimes. He said every day before lunch, just to increase Krishna's appetite, a demon comes and then they kill the demon. Right? So how many pastimes are there? And every one of those pastimes is actually happening in another material universe. Before it ends here, okay, Krishna is killing Putana or maybe sucking the milk from Putana's breast. And as soon as before that pastime ends, another place, Krishna is actually doing the same thing. So everywhere, and Prabhupada, in his classes, we see he gives the example of, well, it was, 758 here, right? After some time, it will be 758 in some other place, right? And that 758, it will be all around the world. So Prabhupada gives that example. And here he gives the example of the sun. The sun may rise here or set here, but it is rising in some other place. So similarly, each one of Krishna's pastimes is continuously happening, right? Continuously happening. So it is like inconceivable. The unlimited pastimes are always happening in every place. Right now, Krishna is lifting Govardhan Hills. Right now, Krishna is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya. Right now, Krishna is in the grips of Trinavarta, and Mother Yashoda is in anxiety. Right now, it is happening. So this is the inconceivable pastimes of the Lord. And also, that is one way in different universes happening, but also in Vrindavan Dham. Right now, the aprakata pastimes are happening. So when Krishna comes, shows in pastime in Vrindavan, that is, visible to the people there. But even now, if you go to Vrindavan, those pastimes are happening. But we cannot see it. We have to become qualified to see this pastime. It is said even today at noon in Radhakund, if you're at noon at Radhakund, then Radha and Krishna are coming there to show a particular pastime. They are coming, but we cannot see. We normally see different things. So that's the point. That's the point Prabhupada explained. The second point Prabhupada stresses here is the point about he compares the processes of, he says, to actually get liberation from this material world, one needs to have patience and perseverance in knowledge and renunciation, Gyan and Vairagya, right? And one needs to have what? Patience and perseverance. So this process of cultivating Gyan and developing the detachment is actually a very, very long process. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, which is that verse? Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So long, right? So Prabhupada is comparing. One side he says this, very long process. A lot of patience and perseverance is required. On the other hand, janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti datta. On the other hand, you could just hear about Krishna's birth and activities, and then that's it. Go back home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada is actually comparing these two. And then he brings a third comparison, very beautiful purport. He says the conditioned souls, by hearing the Janma and Karma, right, they can actually, evam yovatita, tapta deham punarjanma, naiti mam eti so Arjuna, right? They don't have to take birth again in this material world. Further, Prabhupada says, okay, those are conditioned souls who can become fortunate, but what to talk about the fortune of those devotees who have become a family member of Krishna or who have become the neighbor of Krishna. And that's why these ladies are saying, Aho Alam, how fortunate are those? Yes, those who are actually, even hearing Krishna Katha about the Krishna's birth and activities, they are fortunate. We are fortunate because our fortune is created by Srila Prabhupada that we can hear about Krishna Katha. But how much more fortunate are those people who are actually the family members of Krishna, the Yadu dynasty, and the neighbors of Krishna. Okay, so now they have glorified Krishna's dynasty and they have glorified Krishna's birthplace, right? Mathura Mandal. Okay, so okay, there are a few more prayers. Let's just take a quick break. Maybe let's take 3-4 reflections. Anyone from all the prayers we heard so far? Any point that stood out to you, or just a repetition very quickly? Can you just do 3-4? Just revise.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, I like the point that as you RRA, this dual word is created to rectify our rebellious attitude, but how it is done? Shastra Krita. Krishna has given us Shastras to rectify us.
Thank you very much.
I really like the point when he said he's just not showing mercy to the devotee he came for. He's also there for us. He's doing his pastime to affect our minds. So.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? One more point?
Like the point, Roger, about confidential devotees can reveal the confidential sections of describing about Krishna.
Thank you. Like particularly in 10 canto commentaries you read, you're amazed at how Chakravarti Path is revealing the mind that, oh, now Krishna is thinking this, and then the other devotee is thinking this, and then there's like a dialogue, like almost like in the commentary, Chakravarti Path is saying, oh, Krishna is saying this, Gopi is saying this, and Krishna is saying this, Gopi is saying this, and it's just one verse, and Chakravarti Path has such a big commentary to it. So it's like revealed so nicely. Thank you. Should we continue?
I like how you,
Yeah, good.
Going on that point about how the devotees know Krishna's heart, and so it goes beyond even Krishna just revealing himself. The devotees actually know Krishna's heart, and then so if we hear from these Guya Vadibihis, then they can take the jewels from the confidential portions.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, I was just hearing through all of these realizations, thinking about even the ladies of Hastinapur are so learned, and they realized so much. It's just inconceivable that they went through the whole thing of Krishna's from birth and everything, and they're just saying all this. Their realizations are just amazing. They're no less than any sages or any big people, right? It's just the ladies maybe at home doing their normal chores, but their realizations are so much.
And now see the next few verses, we'll see what they are realizing. It just gets more and more sweeter, That's why we did this last time, but I was not happy with bringing out the points. So let's continue the next verses. It gets more deeper. So till now, what we have seen, again, whenever we see these prayers, they are always we talk of the ladies. It's not just one person saying these prayers. And they're saying, oh, dear Sakhi, my dear friend. So even in these prayers, we'll see different rasa, right? And Bhagavatam is basically, we want to understand these rasa. So we see predominantly it has been Shanta rasa, right? Where they are the mood of awe and reverence. Oh, Krishna, you're beyond this creation and so on. Now we'll see that how the rasa is gradually going, and the ladies who are more desiring to have Madhurya rasa, particularly Sophia, Madhurya rasa, their desires are now said in the remaining prayers. Right? So it is slowly moving towards, and we see that rasa transformation. So let's read the next 27.
Aho patasvar yashasastira kari kushasthali punya yashaskari bhuvaha kashyanti nityam yadanu griheshitam smita avalokam swapatim smadyat prajaha.
Undoubtedly, it is wonderful that Dwarka has defeated the glories of the heavenly planets and has enhanced the celebrity of the earth. The inhabitants of Dwarka are always seeing the soul of all living beings, Krishna, in his loving feature. He glances at them and favors them with sweet smiles.
So having glorified Yadu dynasty, where Krishna actually selected to appear in the dynasty, and having glorified Vrindavan now they are saying Aho Bata. Aho Bata is again like an expression, right? Aho is like again, again they are saying, oh, how fortunate, right? So what are they glorifying? Now they are glorifying Dwarka. Now they say undoubtedly it is wonderful that Dwarka, and if you see the Sanskrit, it's so beautiful. It says Swar Yashasa Tiraskari, right? So it says Tiraskari means Tiraskar Karna, like even in Hindi, those who know. Tiraskar means reject. It is defeating. Defeating what? Swarga. And that Dwarka is Tiraskar. It is defeating the glories of Swarga Loka. And at the same time, it is Yasaskari. Yasaskari what? Bhuvaha. Bhuva means the earth. So it is on one hand, this Dwarka is so glorious that it is rejecting, defeating the glory of Swarga Lok, and at the same time, it is actually glorifying the earth planet. The earth planet is glorified because of the presence of Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka. So that's what these ladies of Hastinapur are actually saying, that this Dwarka is so wonderful, has defeated the glories of Swargaloka and has Yashaskari of and this glorified the earth planet. And then further, so that is glorifying Dwarka. Now they are glorifying the residents of Dwarka. That these residents, Pashyanti again to see, Nityam, always. So now these ladies are saying that, see how fortunate they are. They can always see Krishna, but now for us, Krishna is leaving. We will not be able to see him. And it is so interesting because now they are saying that, oh, the associates of Dwarka, they always see Krishna. And next chapter we'll read where they are saying that, oh Krishna, when you leave to Hastinapur, then we are actually, separated from you. So they are actually saying that we miss your association so much. And the whole point is actually the mood of that separation and union, right? Separation and union. And this is actually a major theme in our Gaudiya Siddhanta of how, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also expressed that mood, that one mood of always having Krishna in the memories and always thinking of Krishna and being with Krishna. Because thinking of Krishna is non-different by association of Krishna, but at the same time feeling that separation from Krishna. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But here they are saying the inhabitants of Dwarka, right? Pashyanti Nityam, they're always seeing. And then what is their dealings? He actually smita valokam. He glances at them and then he smiles at them. And that way Krishna is actually exchanging his love. He's expressing his love to these inhabitants of Dwarka. They're always seeing Krishna. He's glancing at them and he's actually expressing their sweet smile. Right? So Prabhupada says that how, Swargalok, there's so much glorification on the Vedas that, oh, you do this, like even now, like you go to India, like, oh, do this pious activity, you'll get Swargalok. So much glorified Swargalok. But here we are saying Dwarka, Mathura, Vrindavan, they're even more glorious than Swargalok. They are defeating the glories of Swargalok. And Prabhupada says how Swargalok, there are so many opulences that 6 months on earth is 1 day of the heavenly planets. Right? So the lifetime of the people of Swargalok is 10,000 years, according to our calculation. And then there is this different Nanda Kanana gardens, and there are different Apsaras who come sing for you. And then there is so much facility to enjoy, right? So much glories of Swargalok. But all that is just defeated by Dwarka. Why? Because just by going to Dwarka and experiencing one smile of Krishna, that's it. We'll go back home, back to Dwarka. That is how glorious is Dwarka. So Prabhupada is so nicely making that point. And then, further he also said that, yeah, okay, there's some opulence in Dwarka, but Shine what's that was? 920, 921. Shine Murte,
Shine Punya.
yeah, Shine Punya, Marte Lokam Shanti. That basically it said, oh yeah, okay, there may be some glory, you go to Swargalok, but there you're spending your bank balance of pious credits. And as soon as pious credits over, back to earth, right? Back to square one. Yeah, what is the use? What is the use of that when someone will glorify? And Prabhupada makes that point. And then also Prabhupada makes the point that someone may think that, oh, Swargaloka is so glorious. But even that is actually Dukhalaya. That is anxiety. Indrayari Vyakulam Lokam. Even Indra there is actually always in Vyakula. He's always in anxiety. So why consider Swargaloka? Here, Dwarka, Mathura, Vrindavana, right here on this earth planet. We are so fortunate we can go and experience Krishna in these wonderful transcendental dhams. Right? So Prabhupada in the purpose says, any person engaged in devotional service is recommended to live in these three places, Dwarka, Mathura, or Vrindavan. Why? Because devotional service in these three places is magnified. Those who go there to follow the principles in terms of instructions imparted in the revealed scriptures surely achieve the same result as obtained during the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. Can you imagine? It's saying that, yes, Krishna came and showed this pastime, but even now, if you go to these places, go to Vrindavan, and you're doing this sadhana, you're doing the activities of the sadhana there, then you can get the same benefit of being there as if Krishna is present there. And Krishna is there in the dhams. So yes, we are all eagerly waiting to go to Vrindavan. And Rupa Goswami actually said, right? He said that out of the 5 activities, most potent activities of devotional service, what is the 5th one? He says, Mathura Vas. Go and live in Mathura. And when we read such things, it's like, why are we here in the West? Let's all just pack our bags, give up. Like, if that's our goal is Krishna consciousness, why are we even here? Let's go to Vrindavan. Right? There are 2 things here. One is actually, unless we are purified, we will not appreciate it. Let me see if I can remember that. Yeah. Okay. So one devotee, this is Sutava Prabhu, is one of my favorite. Now he's Keshav Maharaj, one of my favorite speakers. So he actually said he was in Vrindavan, and then he was about to leave Vrindavan. And one Brajvasi was there, he was talking. And the Brajvasi said, why are you leaving Vrindavan? And he said, in Vrindavan, every dream is reality. But outside Vrindavan, every reality is a dream. Because everything outside of Vrindavan, anything we are doing is just like a dream-like state. But in Vrindavan, every dream is actually a dream. And he was saying, Sutava Prabhu, why are you leaving Vrindavan? But Prabhu actually made the point. He said, right now, I don't have the eyes to really appreciate Vrindavan. So if I stay here, I'll commit offenses. So I need to go out to the West and serve the mission of my spiritual master. And by that, I will actually, I hope to get purified and then come back to Vrindavan to really appreciate Vrindavan. So actually, our only reason we are here is to serve the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, to give Krishna to others. That should be our conviction. We are here. This means that Krishna has given us this particular place, North Carolina, this particular place, so that we can spread Krishna consciousness here. That's our only purpose of it. Otherwise, just pack your bag for back. Right? And so that's so our mood is by we want to serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada. We are here. We are serving in that mood, and by that, by pleasing Srila Prabhupada, we can actually hope to develop that Vrindavan in the core of our heart. Right? So the other point is also Vrindavan refers to that consciousness of Vrindavan. So if you are staying away from Vrindavan, and if you are serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada, and always thinking of wanting to go to Vrindavan, then wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. But still, at the same time, Prabhupada insisted, because we may not be at the stage of having that Vrindavan consciousness. He actually said every year he wants all his disciples to come to, this was actually in Mayapur, when the Gaur Purnima festival was there. Prabhupada said, I want all my disciples every year, at least once a year, to come to Mayapur, to come to the holy Dham. So the importance is that we need to again go experience Krishna there, come back, do our little seva here, whatever we can do best, go back to them. Right? Okay, so let's continue our next verse, 28. So they have glorified Dwarka, they have glorified the Dwarka Vasis, that they actually have Nitya. Always they can Pashyanti, they can see Krishna, and Krishna is smiling at them and giving them such wonderful reciprocation. Okay, 28.
Nunam Ratasnana Hutadineshvaraha Samarchito Yasya Grihita Panibihi Pibati Ya Sakyadharamritam Muhur Brajastriya Samu Muhur Yad Ashrayaha.
Hare Krishna. Oh friends, just think of his wife whose hands he has accepted. How they must have undergone vows, baths, fire, sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Brajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. Hare Krishna.
So in previous verse, they glorified the residents of Dwarka, and they said, Pashyanti Nityam, always seeing, and Smita Avalokam. The smooth, they can see the smooth, Krishna is actually giving them sweet, smiling glances, right? Now they are glorifying the queens of Dwarka. Right? Just think of his wives, right? The queens of Dwarka, his wives, whose hand he has accepted. And they're saying that they must have done so much tapasya. How come they got this position of becoming the queen of Krishna? How fortunate is that? They must have certainly done a lot of tapasya, fire sacrifices, worshipping the Lord. And now these queens are actually relishing the nectar of his lips by kissing. Imagine how much rasa is there in this verse. They're actually meditating on Krishna, and the queens of Dwarka and Krishna having this exchange of, kissing, right? And then further they say, oh, what about the gopis of Vrindavan? The damsels of Brajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. So even more higher than that is this gopis of Vrindavan. And they used to faint just by thinking of these favors of the Lord. Right? So how fortunate are these personalities, the Queen of Dwarka and then the gopis of Vrindavan. Right? So Prabhupada points out that this, for certainly this kissing, this is not something anything mundane. And Prabhupada says, if it was even there was a slight thing of mundane thing in that, then why would such a great person liberated Atma Ramasya Muneyo, Sukadeva Goswami, who was actually Atma Ram, who was beyond this, why would he actually talk about these things? Why would he meditate on these pastimes? And what to talk of that? Prabhupada said, whatever Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was playing the role of a strict sannyasi, right? Even the woman used to offer obeisances from a distance, right? And that strict sannyasi used to glorify these pastimes. And that itself is a proof that this kissing is actually completely pure spiritual rasa, right? Nothing to do with it. Okay. And then Prabhupada actually in the Parpati text talks of Parakiya and Swakiya. Right? So Swakiya means those who are married, right? So that Madhurya Bhav in the mood of married, right? Married husband and wife, and the queens of Dwarka. And Swakiya is that of the gopis of Vrindavan. Right? And then our acharyas have pointed out how Swakiya is actually more elevated in terms of rasa and intensity than Parakiya. Why? Because in Parakiya, there is actually more excitement, more eagerness. They say right? Parakiya is more elevated in terms of rasa and intensity than Swakiya, right? Parakiya is more elevated. So why is Parakiya so much more elevated? Why is that unwedded, the conjugal lovers more elevated? Because there is more excitement. Is Radha and Krishna going to meet or not? Is that going to happen or not? Right? And that excitement creates more and more intensity in that. So Prabhupada talks about Parakiya Bhav and Swakiya. Okay. And okay, so let's continue further. So here they're glorifying these queens of Dwarka, how they can, experience Krishna's kissing, and then these gopis of Vrindavan, how they just like, they faint just by thinking of these rasas with Krishna. Okay. Then next 29.
Yaviryuke narita swayamvare pramatya chadya pramukhan hi shushminaha pradumna sambam basutadayo para yascharita bhoma vadhe sahasrashaha.
The children of these ladies are Pradyumna, Samba, Amba, etc. Ladies like Rukmini, Satyabhama, and Jambavati were forcibly taken by him from their Swayamvar ceremonies after he defeated many powerful kings headed by Shishupal, and other ladies were also forcibly taken away by him after he killed Bhaumasura and thousands of his assistants. All of these ladies are joyous.
So can anyone say, okay, so you are seeing that how their mood is, elevating, they're glorifying, after glorifying Yadu dynasty, glorifying Vrindavan, they glorify Dwarka residents, queens, right? And then why are they saying this particular point about the queens? How these queens were forcibly taken away by him from their Swayamvar ceremonies, and then there were the 16,100 ladies who were actually captured by Bhaumasura. And in Vedic society, if someone is even touched by a man, that's it. She cannot be accepted by anyone else. So Bhaumasura has captured them, right? But still, Krishna actually accepted these 16,100 princesses. Right? So why are they glorifying this?
Prabhuji, I think that Krishna is Atma Rama. He doesn't want anything. He's satisfied because he forcibly his wives because all those ladies desired Krishna. And
Yeah.
Krishna is Bhakt Vatsala. He will satisfy the desires of everyone.
Right, that point is totally valid. The point I'm looking is, consider these ladies of Hastinapur. They actually glorify Dwarka resident, queens of Dwarka, and now they are saying, Krishna, you captured those queens who were actually desired to be, with someone else, right? Not desired. They actually, like how Bhaumasura captured them. So one way, if someone is captured, then they lose, like they cannot get married. But Krishna, you accepted them. Our position is just like that. We have our obligations here. We have our, maybe our husbands are, we have our family here. We are in Hastinapur. But you accepted them, even though they were captured. So you also forcibly capture us and take us along with you. How beautiful is prayer. And that's why they are glorifying this. And particularly they say, you forcibly took away these from the Swayamvar. So you are known for that. Krishna, how you came and you defeated Rukmini. So you kidnapped Rukmini by defeating Shishupal and the other kings. So now also you're known for that, to come and forcibly. So you forcibly take away us also. So they're expressing the desire in that way, right? So that's how beautiful is this verse. I think Krishna, and further they actually elaborate on this. And yeah, okay, so you accept and you forcibly took them away. So similarly, you take us away now because we cannot bear this separation from you. You also kidnap us, how you expertly do in the Swayamvar ceremony. So Prabhupada in the purport, he elaborates on the Swayamvar ceremony, how exceptionally qualified daughters, they actually had this, they could select them to have this. So many Swayamvar ceremonies we know of, Rukmini and other, that all the princes would come and they used to have a fight, and then the princess would actually be won as a trophy. Prabhupada said, was offered as a trophy princess, as those who actually win in that battle. And then Prabhupada explained how Bhaumasura, he had captured the 16,100 beautiful girls. And then these girls prayed piteously to Lord Krishna. It's actually towards the end of the purport, for their deliverance, and the merciful Lord, called by their fervent prayer, released them all by fighting and killing Bhaumasura. So Prabhupada is actually indicating that point, that these ladies, they prayed piteously, and the Lord, because he's so merciful, he accepted their prayers. So now these ladies are saying, even we are praying piteously, you please accept our prayers, you're merciful, please take us out. So in their heart, they are expressing this. And further, they elaborate on this. Text 30.
Meta param stritvam apastapesh nirasta shocham bata sadhu purvate yasham grihat pushkaralochana patir najat vapaityar tibhiridi sprishan.
All these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, never left them alone at home. Always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations.
Now they are saying that, these ladies prayed and then you accepted it, right? And they are saying all these women auspiciously glorified their lives despite their being without purity. So these ladies are saying, actually, even we may not be so pure. Like before you said, like, those queens, they must have performed so many vows, so many fire sacrifices, they must have prayed so much, right? And hence they got this position. Right? But then they said, but ladies, these princesses who were captured by Bhaumasura, maybe they were without purity. But all they did, they didn't perform so many fire sacrifices and everything, but they just piteously prayed. So even we don't have that purity. But right now we are sincerely praying, please accept our prayers and take us with you. And then further they say, their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, Pushkara Lochanaha, the lotus-eyed Patihi, and then Na Jatu, never at any time Apaiti goes away from them. And he actually pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. So by glorifying these, they are expressing their desire in their heart that they also want to become the wife of Krishna, where they can always be with Krishna and Krishna can give them nice presentations and have this nice rasa with Krishna, right? And like, how Krishna actually got the Parijata tree for Satyabhama, right? How he acts like an henpecked husband, right? Prabhupada uses that word, that because Satyabhama desired, Krishna said, okay, you want it, I will take it from the heavenly planets and bring it down to you. And for that, I have to fight Indra. I'll fight Indra. But you have desired, I'm a henpecked husband, I will act in it. So even they are desiring that bhav, that mood. Right? So, like Prabhupada in the purport, like he makes a point that, even if someone is without purity, if he actually prays to Krishna, takes shelter of Krishna, then whatever is his position, he can actually be connected with Krishna. He can be delivered and he can actually become an associate of Krishna, right? So that's the point. And then further, Prabhupada in the second paragraph, he says, the fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely pray to Lord Shri Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. Okay. So this actually verse, Prabhupada is so nicely saying that when we pray to Krishna, how it is so important to, one of the important elements of a prayer is that mood of sincerity. And if you see actually Prabhupada, if you just search Veda based on sincerity, so many places Prabhupada says, if you are sincere, then Krishna will reciprocate with you. Krishna will take you, make all the arrangements for your success in devotion service. That aspect of sincerity. And what does sincerity mean? Sincerity means, one way if you see the meaning, it means like not being duplicitous or not being, having an ulterior motive, just being honest, just being sincere in our prayers. So just having that sincerity of heart, that, that yes, Krishna, I just want to be with you. Yes, all these other desires are there. I know Krishna, I am fallen. I have this attachment, that attachment. Krishna, I'm just being honest with you. For so many years I've been chanting, but I have this attachment still and this attraction is still there, and this is there, and that is there. But Krishna, finally, I just want to come to you. You know, just expressing that sincerity. And Prabhupada says that sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. So the importance of being sincere in a spiritual life. And I was actually looking like, you know, in Vedabase that how can we gain sincerity? So I was seeing what Prabhupada said over there. In one place, there's a quote where Prabhupada says, how can you become sincere? By acting sincerely. That's it. Prabhupada said, by acting sincerely. That means that when we actually do our sadhana, you know, we just be focused at Krishna. I just want to do this for your pleasure. Simple. We are not doing, oh, Krishna, I'm chanting Hare Krishna so that I can get this fame, this, get material. No. Krishna, I'm just doing this. Just being sincere in our heart. You know, it is more of something that is a feeling of our heart rather than that is something that can be explained with lots of points of do this, don't do this, so and so and so forth. It is just a feeling of our heart, just being sincere. There's a Mahavishnu Swami Maharaj, he actually did an acronym for sincerity. I'll just read it out to you. S in sincere means being simple. I means initiating daily. That basically Maharaj is explaining that we have taken our vows of initiation, but every day we revisit those vows and we actually say, okay, I've taken these vows of initiation, 16 rounds minimum, 4 regulative principles, you know, distribute Krishna. What are the vows I've taken? Every day I'm, you know, going back to the vows, initiating vow daily. N, so S is simple, I is initiating daily. N is no expectation in return. We do our bhakti, we are not expecting anything. Krishna, we just want to serve you, we just want to please you. Right? C, control of the senses. E, being equipoised. Yes, you know, even in our bhakti, we are doing sadhana bhakti, there'll be ups and downs, and this devotee said this, or this happened, and this situation. Being equipoised. R, being resolute in determination. And then E, being eager in our bhakti, eagerness. So he actually defines sincere by these acronyms, and I find it very nice. You know, what is sincere? Being simple, keeping up with our vows, initiating daily, no expectation, control of our senses, being equipoised, resolute in determination, and E, being eager always to progress in our bhakti. That is being sincere. Okay. So that's basically these prayers, but we see these prayers how nicely they are actually, you know, finally expressing their heart to Krishna. That Krishna, you have kidnapped so many, you have won so many, forcibly taken so many princesses. Even you take us away with you. Don't leave us. Now you are going away, but our heart's desire is to become your wife, particularly here they have referred to Krishna going to Dwarka. So make us your wife so that we can actually exchange all these rasas with you. And even though right now our condition is we have all these obligations, but still, how you accepted those who were under care of Bhoma, so you accept. Right? Okay. So Prabhupada in the text 30, in the last line, he actually says, if therefore anyone desires the Lord to become one husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. So if you see the entire mood of these prayers, how they are desiring, and you see how Prabhupada expertly, at the end of the prayer, this is actually the last prayer actually, so 30, and then end of the prayer, he's actually saying, yes, that is their heart's desire. And because they are desiring to have Lord as their husband, the Lord will certainly fulfill such desire. How beautiful. Okay. So next 31. So next rest of the chapter is we can quickly finish. It's nothing, not so much to explain. So let's go on. 31.
Nivam vidhagatantinam sagira pura yoshitam nirikshanena nandan sasmitena yayo hari.
While the ladies of the capital Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city.
So two things the Lord has done. One is nirikshanena, by his grace of glancing over them. And second is sa smitena, he smiled at you. Like, what did Krishna do when Queen Kunti said all his prayers? He just smiled. Right? So here, actually, Chakravarti Father is actually making the point that those, because we saw the prayers, how it was like some of them have expressed Shanta Rasa, and then as gradually progressed to more of the Madhurya, having the desire of becoming the queen of Krishna or wife of Krishna. So to those who were more in Shanta Rasa, Krishna actually, he just glanced at them. And those who were desiring more Madhurya, Krishna actually smiled at them. Right? By his glances, he pleased the woman who had Shantaras, and by his smiles, he pleased those who were in Madhurya Bhav. So Krishna is so perfect in reciprocation. They all like, imagine you can, and Bhagavatam is also like so, meditative. You can meditate on the scene that, we saw, like how Krishna is leaving, Arjuna is holding that jewel white umbrella, and then Uddhav and Satyaki are fanning. And then on top of the roof, all these ladies, beautiful prayers. In your mind, you can develop that whole picture. These prayers are, ladies are saying all these wonderful prayers and desiring to become the queen of Krishna.
You're on camera.
Desiring to become the queen of Krishna. And then Krishna, like he's going down on the road, and then he just like glances at those particular ones who are Shanta, and the same time smiling at those who are Madhurya. It's amazing, right? How like they're all on the rooftop. Krishna is going on the road, but at the same time he's reciprocating individually with everyone's own desire, right? Smiling at some of those and glancing at the remaining. How Krishna is so perfect in the. Okay, now next verse. So now we are finish this chapter now. Okay, continue.
32. Ajata Shatru Pritam Kopithaya Madhustishaha Parebhya Shankita Snehat Prayunkta Chaturangini.
Okay, who's next?
Maharaja Yudhishthira, although no one's enemy engage your divisions of defense, horse, and chariot and army, to accompany Lord Krishna, the enemy of Asuras, demons. Maharaja did this because of the enemy and also out of affection for Lord.
So Krishna is leaving, and Maharaj Yudhishthira is actually sending this entire army of horse, elephant, chariot, and army to accompany Krishna. And why is Maharaj Yudhishthira doing that? It says two reasons. One is Sankitaha, he's afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that some other neighboring countries may attack Krishna on the way. And second point is out of affection. He loves Krishna and he's thinking of Krishna that, oh, you are actually my younger cousin, so I have to take care of you. So my armies will come with you so that even if someone attacks, then my army will protect you. Now we can consider that, one way Yudhishthira Maharaj, he knows Krishna, you're the supreme personality of Godhead. And why he would send like such a big army? Like Krishna, he can kill anyone, right? Why such a big army? But we can see that how Yoga Maya, she actually does this role so perfectly. So at this moment, she's covered Yudhishthira Maharaj's knowledge of Krishna as supreme personality of Godhead. And now Yudhishthira Maharaj is just thinking, Krishna is my younger cousin here, long journey to go, army should go along, all protection should be there, that affection. And again, Prabhupada points out in the purport that Krishna likes to accept that position of being subordinate to the devotees. Again and again, like Prabhupada points out that we see in the purpose that this theme is repeated, and this is actually proving the point, going beyond Aishwarya into our bhav of how Krishna is controlled by the love of the devotees. The highest thing is prema martham. That love for Krishna is the highest, and that controls Krishna. And Krishna likes to be controlled in that. So all this, and Prabhupada talks of how Yashoda Mata, she's actually, controlling Krishna. The Lord plays the part of subordinate in transcendental sporting, and he puts himself under the care of Yashoda Mata for his protection. Okay. Next, 33.
Atha duragatan shori koravan virahaturan Sanivartya dudam snigdhan prayat svanagarim priyai.
Who's next? Okay.
33, Varshamataji.
Varshamati, can you read? Vijayamati.
Out of profound affection for Lord Krishna, the Pandavas, who were of the Kuru dynasty, accompanied him a considerable distance to see him off. They were overwhelmed with the thought of future separation. The Lord, however, persuaded them to return home, and he proceeded towards Dwarka with his dear companions. Hare
It's
Krishna.
so interesting that the army and everyone along the Pandavas, they were accompanying Krishna towards Dwarka, and they didn't want to leave. You know, normally a guest goes, you may walk all the way to the road and say like, okay, okay, Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. Now imagine the guest is going and you're walking along the guest and keep going. And then here the word is also so nice. It says, Sani Vartya, politely persuaded. After some time, the guest says, what, you're going to come into my house? You just came to send me off, just go back. So Krishna actually Sani Vartya, he politely persuaded that, yes, thank you, we have that affection, but are you going to come all the way to Dwarka? So please turn back. But they were overwhelmed with that future separation. The word is used, viraha, right? Viraha, we have often heard that word, right? Viraha, the separation. Viraha Turan, they were overwhelmed with the separation, hence they could not leave. But Krishna politely persuaded and said, no, okay, 34, 35.
Kuru Jangala Panchalan Shurasenan Sayamunan Brahman Vartam Kurukshetram Matsyan Sarasvatan Ata Marudhanvam Atikramya Sor Vira Virayoparan Anartan Bhargavopagaj Chanvadvaho Manag Vibhuhu.
Vijay Radhika Mati.
Can I read?
Yes, yeah, go ahead. Varshamati, please.
The Lord then proceeded towards Kurujanga, Panchala, Surena, the land on the bank of the river Yamuna, Brahmavarta, Kuruk, Sarasvata, the province of the desert, and the land of scanty water. After crossing these provinces, he gradually reached the Sovira and Abira provinces. Then, west of this, reached Dwarka at last.
So if you see actually in the word-to-word translation, you can kind of get the route that Krishna has taken. If you see word-to-word, Prabhupada says he went to province of Delhi, then Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, district of Yamuna, northern Uttar Pradesh, Kurukshetra, province of Matsya, Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and then Saurashtra, Gujarat, and then Dwarka. So that is the road that Krishna has taken. But Prabhupada so nicely, he says in the purport, that the place where it says scanty water, that is actually referring to Madhya Pradesh. Right? It appears that desert of Rajasthan and provinces of scanty water like Madhya Pradesh were present even 5,000 years before. And then Prabhupada so nicely, he says, like kind of funny, he says, we do not gain any profit simply by researching the analogous provinces of those days up to now. So there's no point in researching that. Abhi, this is the name. What was the name that time? How was the land? And then Prabhupada says so nicely, we leave the matter for expert geologists to research, right? We are satisfied that the Lord has now reached his own province, Dwarka. So nicely Prabhupada saying, yes, all this research is that, oh yeah, they may say that, oh, that time there was no desert. Desert came, more recently in Rajasthan. But here it proves that there's a desert. Bhagavatam is proving that there was desert even at that time. But for us, we are not concerned about that. We are only concerned that now our dear Lord has reached Dwarka. So again, Prabhupada is actually making the point that yes, all these details are there, but finally it is our connection with Krishna, our bhav with Krishna is that really matters. Okay. And one last verse.
36. Tatra tatra ha tatratyair hari pratyudyata haranaha sayam bheja disham paschad gavishto gam gatastada.
Okay, please go ahead. Maybe.
Radhika Mataji is reading.
You can go ahead.
On his journey through these providences, he was welcomed, worshipped, and given instructions in the evening. In all places, the Lord suspended his journey to perform evening rites. This was regularly observed after sunset.
And so wherever Krishna went, everywhere he was welcome, worshipped, so many presentation. Imagine, like, this Bhagavatam is only 8,000 verses. There are other Bhagavatams which are much bigger. And imagine, like, one might consider that Krishna is going through every place. Now we had like Hastinapur, Krishna is leaving, and then prayers there. Dwarka, Krishna entering, prayers there. Imagine Bhagavatam where every province Krishna goes, there is welcome, there is prayer, there is presentation. That is the rasa. Like we feel like, oh, so much. But that is the real relational rasa. But everywhere he went. And in the evening, he suspended his journey and performed evening rites. So Prabhupada actually points out how Krishna is also doing all this worship, he is doing all this, but that is just to set the right example. That is the way of factual teaching. One must act properly. Yad yad acharit sheshtas, tat tad evetarojana. Krishna is showing all this to set the proper example. Even during traveling, he's doing his puja, he's keeping up with all his vows and everything. Right? So also Prabhupada points out these two concepts are there. One is anukaran and anusharan. Right? I'm sure you know this. Anukaran means imitation. Anusharan means following. This is important. So what pastimes do Krishna to do anukaran, and what pastimes of Krishna should we do anusharan? Right? What are we cannot imitate Krishna lifting Govardhan hill. We cannot imitate marrying so many wives. So those pastimes are not for anukaran, right? They are not to be imitated. But there are certain pastimes, like how here Krishna is doing his daily worship. Those are to be followed. That is anusharan, right? We need to follow those. But how do we know which pastimes are anukaran and which pastimes are anusharan? Which are to be followed and which are to be imitated? And Prabhupada actually makes the point. All actions, the last sentence, therefore in all actions, the expert, experienced guide, the spiritual master, who is the manifested mercy of the Lord, should always be consulted, and the path of progress will be assured. So which pastimes of the Lord to follow, which to imitate, right? All that, the spiritual master, experienced spiritual master, who is the mercy of the Lord, he will actually reveal it to us. That this pastime where Krishna is actually, even in Dwarka is described how every day morning Krishna used to get up and meditate on whom? On himself. Right? So Prabhupada makes a point that we have to understand there that the Anusharan, the following path, is to do our meditation. But we cannot do the Anukaran, the imitation of meditating on ourselves. That would be foolish. The spiritual master is actually saying, yes, every day morning we have to do our japa, but not that we meditate on ourselves foolishly. We meditate on Krishna. So that difference between Anukaran and Anusharan is very, very important. And the spiritual master reveals those differences. Like even with Prabhupada, the conversation is there with disciples saying, because they were so much spending time with Prabhupada, they wanted to become like Prabhupada. But even that, yes, one may have the mood that, oh, Prabhupada, so amazing, I want to become like him. So that desire of becoming a pure devotee, that is a good desire. But we cannot imitate. Okay, so with spiritual master, there's two things. One is the instructions given by the spiritual master, and second is the actions that the spiritual master does. Now, which actions can we imitate? those actions which actually substantiate the instructions of the spiritual master, that which actually brings us closer to following the instructions of the spiritual master. We can, like Prabhupada, every day morning, he's doing his japa, he's spending so much time in Bhagavatam, he's actually doing morning walks, he's spending so much time with preaching, writing, having that personal exchange with devotees. All these points we should imitate. We should try to follow. Right? I mean, yeah. But all that we actually see, it is in line with the instructions of the spiritual. So anyway, these two concepts are there, Anukaran, Anusharan. So Prabhupada talks about that. And how do you know which should be Anukaran and which should be Anusharan? That a spiritual master will reveal. Anukaran is imitation and Anusharan is following in the steps. So that brings us to the end of this chapter. So it is described that Krishna, wherever he went, every place he stayed for a few days, right? And then he continues his journey. And finally, he arrived Dwarka in the afternoon time, Shayam, right? And at that time, the sun was just setting on the Western Ocean. And that's the time when Krishna actually entered Dwarka. Okay. The next chapter is going to describe when Krishna entered Dwarka, how was that reciprocation? It's always, time is always a thing, it's 8:52. So it's up to you. Like, I know there's a Amarendra Prabhu's program. So either we can take reflections and just talk here, or we can take a break and do half an hour. It's all up to you. Because there's a program today, so.
Prabhuji, it takes more than half an hour for me to go. Even to Pratnamata, to Apex. So I don't know about other devotees, but
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Should we stop or should we do half an hour session?
Will you be going, Prabhu? You are going?
I'm planning to, but you just have to still do Pai Puja, some japa is there. I may go a little late, but I have the desire to go for sure.
So we need to leave because we are cooking, so yeah. That's nice.
Okay, so I think we'll stop then. I wanted to do a little bit more, but next.
Is there any Zoom meeting for the Amarendra Prabhu class?
Yes, it's all on Zoom. Yeah.
Oh,
I can send you the links. It's all. There's only one Zoom link that we use for our temple. It's New Goloka 108. bit.ly/New Goloka 108.
okay.
Easy to remember.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just do a, yeah.
At what time, Prabhuji?
Today is at 10 o'clock. It starts at 10 in the morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So let's we'll just do quick reflections. Everyone can share one point and we'll stop here. And next session we'll do chapter 11. It's another so beautiful chapter. Again, we'll see the prayers there, and it's just like so much relishable. So, this section of these ladies of Hastinapur, I felt like last time we didn't go so much in depth to bring out that mood. So I hope this session was, enlivening and relish this section, and appreciate even the prayers of these, these ladies of Hastinapur. Okay. So any reflections? Everyone, please share one point that you heard today that you like.
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry. Yes, Prabhuji. In 31 sloka, it's like ladies, how the Lord reciprocate, like the ladies like smile and the glance, and sometimes for Madhurya Bhav, the smiling is there. I like that one.
Yeah, and you can imagine like Krishna is on the road and the ladies on top, but still so perfect.
Yeah, on that.
Each one. Those are Shan,
Yeah.
they see Krishna, so
Yeah.
so unlimitedly reciprocating with each one of our.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, Vijay Mata.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I like the point that when we pray to Krishna, the important thing is our sincerity, our honesty, not duplicity. Our mood should be, I just want to please Krishna. Thank you so much.
You can remember that acronym, it is nice points. Simple, initiating vows.
Initiating vows, no expectations. control of senses, equipped as being resolute and eager.
Yes. So two acronyms we have, RAR and sincere. Okay. Any other?
Prabhuji, first of all, thanks for bringing back and helping us spend more time on this section. Otherwise, we would have missed the whole mood of the ladies. One point I liked was in the text 30, talking about even if you're impure souls, but engaging in devotional service make you qualified to go back to Godhead. Just that engagement makes you pure. That's very good.
And basically, that point, the stress is that praying like from whatever condition we are, you know how Bhaktivinoda Thakur is expressing his humility. Amara Jivan Sada Pape Rata. So sinful my life is, but yet just expressing that prayer to Krishna, sincere prayer. Krishna says, yes, he's so sinful, like so much baggage of karma, all nonsense, everything. But he has made that sincere prayer. That you know that CC Madhya 22:33. That prayer. Oh Krishna, for so long I have been in this material world separated from you. But today I am turning towards you. Please accept me as your sincere and serious servant. Yeah, 22:33. Madhya 22. One is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya to sincerely and seriously say, all we need to do, whatever is our condition, whatever we know, we just need to say, my dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in this material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service. So beautiful, right? So irrespective of whatever is our condition, all we need to do is just a sincere prayer from the core of our heart. And Krishna sees that and he says, okay, that's it. Your material life, khatam. I will take care of everything. Thank you, Mati. Okay, anyone else?
I really like when you said that Srila Prabhupada's instruction is to we live in Dwarka, Vrindavan, Mathura, but our only purpose of not being in Sridhams is to serve his mission and preach. Apart from if it's not the agenda, go back.
Go back. Yeah. Thank you, Mati. Gopinath.
Just on that point, Rudy, some years ago, I was asking a devotee in Vrindavan that, you know, if you're staying outside, then we long for that place all the time.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's your practice of building that relation with Krishna, that in the mood of separation. So, you know, this will help you in doing that.
Wonderful. Such a deep point. So we go to the dhams and we get a wonderful experience, and we go out of the dham and we are always thinking about the dham and we are longing to go back. And that longing and that separation is what is, what do you say, Prabhu? That is our sadhana, you said? Or?
Yeah, it will help us build that more separation with Krishna.
Oh,
So,
that will develop our mood of separation with Krishna. Such a wonderful thing. Thank you, Prabhu. Very beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Yeah.
I also feel grateful that you went back to this. There's so much rasa in these talks of these ladies of Hastinapur, and I didn't realize that before. We just kind of go through it, and we don't think of it as one of the major prayers in the Bhagavatam. And it's really a prayer because they're just like talking to each other. But in one way, when you said, when you mentioned that when they're talking about the Dwarka queens, they're actually expressing their desire. I never knew that before, that mood that they actually, some of them wanted that relationship with Krishna and that special Madhurya. And I was also thinking, like, is there any mention of which ladies these are? Like, are there any names by the acharyas mentioned? Because we know the ladies of Hastinapur, like some of them we know who are not in that rasa. Like Draupadi is like more like friend, and then Subhadra's sister, and then we have like, is there any names mentioned by the acharyas or which ladies are?
Not in this commentary. I didn't find. I was actually looking, like, because their prayers are so deep and so beautiful. I wonder that who are these personalities, particularly in Hastinapur, right? But again, like the point that I read, that the hundreds of women in Hastinapur, hundreds of ladies, and out of them, like few of them have this, like, are expressing this bhav. So the names are as such not mentioned, but we can see the point that when Krishna personally appears, we know personality like, oh yeah, Pandavas, we know this person, Rukmini, how they had associated. But there are so many others who have that deep bhav with Krishna, that we have not realized that, in general, who knows, unless you have studied Bhagavatam, that these ladies of Hastinapur, in general, if you say those who have studied Mahabharata, say ladies of Hastinapur, they'll just think that, oh, from the side of maybe Duryodhan's wives and all the Kauravas' wives. And no one would, like from Mahabharata, you would never imagine that these ladies, some of these ladies have that bhav with Krishna. But Bhagavatam is actually revealing. To the names, like I haven't found anything. But that maybe a subject matter of more research to see. But at least in Jiva Goswami and Chakravarti's commentary, there's no names as such. But I think the main point to make it is it's not only the known associates that we know. There's so many. When Krishna comes, like devotees having this deep bhav with Krishna. Anyone else? This one's
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I like the how they did, like they started glorifying Vrindavan, then the inhabitants of Vrindavan, then they went to Dwarka and they glorifying, and at the end they connecting Krishna's pastime, and they saying, even though we are not that pure, you accepted them, so do you accept us? So they started glorifying and then praying for themselves. So many takeaway points from from their prayers.
Thank you, Mate. So nice. Thank you for summarizing that point. That's so nice. Yeah, their desire to be Krishna's wives. That's so touching. Thank you, Mate. Okay, anyone else? Stop. Okay, so we see like how Bhagavatam is actually Rasam Alayam. Like as Ratnaradhika was saying, that one may read this section and say like, yeah, Queen Kunti's prayer is so important. This prayer is okay, important, but maybe not so. But it's not true. Every section of Bhagavatam, so much rust, These ladies of Hastinapur, imagine their mood of devotion, and you can just like meditate and relish these prayers. Right? And next chapter, we'll see how the residents of Dwarka, when they welcome Krishna, how they worship Krishna, how they glorify. And Bhagavatam is basically revealing Krishna through these devotees. So and that's why it says like, just by giving oral reception to the Bhagavatam, Yasyam Vai Shruyamananam, Krishna Param Purushe, Bhakti Utpadere Pumsam, our Bhakti to Krishna is arising because we are getting to know more and more about Krishna's glorious qualities. We are falling in love with Krishna just by studying. Okay. So thank you all so much for your association. So I know it's been up and down, and even with my like Bhagavatam preparation, like, because of all the seva and festivals, it's been a little up and down. But from now, like, let's try to again get back into track, regular reading of Bhagavatam, and then we'll try to, keep up with classes every Sunday, so that we can maintain a mood and have the sections to read, everyday reading, hearing classes. Let's get back into the mood. The festivals did take quite a bit of our time and energy, but let's refocus on that. So thank you so much. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhudevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Antaputi Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.